In a world filled with eyes, we begin to forget the gaze that truly matters. We live under constant observation by society, by peers, by our own reflection. Yet somewhere deep beneath the noise of appearances lies the question, who are you when no one is watching? This is the spirit of eye service, the act of serving for sight rather than for sincerity. It is the silent hunger for applause, dressed in the garments of good deeds. It is charity without compassion. It is work without worship. It is a mask, polished and smiling, yet hollow within. Eye service is not a modern disease. It is ancient, as old as pride itself. In the book of Matthew 6:1, Christ warns, "Take heed that you do not do your alms before men, to be seen of them. Otherwise you have no reward of your Father in heaven." Eye service begins when the soul forgets its audience, when the heart begins to trade truth for recognition, when the sacred becomes a performance. The kingdom of heaven values intent over appearance. God does not see as man sees. Man looks on the face. God looks upon the heart. 1 Samuel 16:7. Every unseen act of love is seen by the eyes of eternity. Every silent good done without witness shines brighter in the spiritual realm than the loudest public virtue. Eye service, therefore, is not just hypocrisy, it is spiritual blindness. It is the attempt to impress creation while ignoring the Creator. Why do we perform? Why do we crave approval? The human mind, when detached from spirit, becomes addicted to validation. It begins to measure worth through the reaction of others. The likes, the compliments, the applause, all become mirrors of a fragile self. Eye service is not merely deception, it is a wound, a symptom of a self that has not yet found rest in truth. Psychologists call it extrinsic motivation, when our drive depends on external reward or fear of punishment. But when the soul awakens, when we begin to act from love, faith, and purpose, we discover intrinsic motivation, the quiet joy of doing right simply because it is right. In leadership and work, eye service is poison disguised as loyalty. It creates employees who appear obedient yet lack conviction. It builds systems that reward performance, not purpose. As a leader, beware the comfort of compliance, and as a worker, remember, true excellence is not measured by supervision, but by stewardship. In Colossians 3:22-23, Paul writes, "Servants, obey your masters in all things, not with eye service, as men pleasers, but in singleness of heart, fearing God." Every task, from the smallest duty to the grandest calling, is sacred when done with sincerity. Work becomes worship when done in truth. The mask of service will always crack, for no mask can survive the heat of truth. but the face of sincerity remains radiant, even in silence. The eyes of man may overlook you, but the eyes of God never blink. So serve not for applause, but for alignment, not for the crowd, but for the Creator. And in doing so, you will find peace, the kind that needs no witness to exist. Every act begins in the heart, but every act is judged by the eye. Humanity has learned to see, but not always to perceive. The eyes capture the surface, the heart interprets the soul, and between the two lies a battle, the battle between what is seen and what is true. The eye in Scripture often symbolizes perception, not just vision, but spiritual understanding. In Matthew 6:22-23, Jesus said, "The light of the body is the eye. If therefore your eye be single, your whole body shall be full of light. But if your eye be evil, your whole body shall be full of darkness." A single eye means focus, purity of intent. An evil eye means corruption, divided motives. The heart that serves for show will always see through a divided lens. It cannot see truth clearly because its motive clouds its sight. Eye service begins not in the hands, but in the heart's intention. If the heart seeks applause, the eyes become restless. But if the heart seeks God, the eyes become calm. They see beyond appearance, beyond reward. The eyes are the instruments of ego, always comparing, always judging. They feed the mind's illusion that worth is measured by visibility, but the heart, the true self, operates in silence. It does not compete, it communes. Psychology teaches that the mind filters reality through attention bias. We see what we want to see and often ignore what is inconvenient to the ego. That's why many serve under watchful eyes but lose meaning when unseen. They have trained their worth around attention. Yet peace is born when the heart becomes the true eye, when we serve not to be seen, but to become clear. True vision begins when the inner sight opens, when you no longer act for recognition, but for realization. Leadership that depends on eye service breeds fear, not faith. A team that acts only when watched is a reflection of its leader's insecurity. The wise leader nurtures vision, not surveillance. To see with the heart means to trust, to empower, not control. The Apostle Paul wrote in Ephesians 6:5-7, "Servants, obey your earthly masters with respect and sincerity of heart, just as you would obey Christ. Serve wholeheartedly, as if you were serving the Lord, not people." In the realm of spirit and leadership, the greatest oversight comes from within, the conscience that watches long after the crowd has left. The eye seeks confirmation, the heart seeks communion. One wants to be noticed, the other simply wants to be true. When the heart becomes the eye, light fills the body, peace fills the mind, and purpose flows naturally. This is the inner revolution. When we begin to serve, not to be seen, but to be sincere, pray for a single eye, the kind that sees good even when others don't. Pray for a pure heart that serves without the need for witness. And remember, the eye of the Lord sees all, not to judge first, but to guide. In secret obedience lies divine promotion. In hidden faithfulness lies eternal recognition. The heart and the eye, one sees, the other understands. When the two become one, your actions become light. Do not live to be seen, live to be sincere. For every unseen act of truth is recorded by the eyes of eternity. The next time you feel unseen, remember, the heart that serves with love never goes unnoticed in heaven. Every mask we wear was once a defense. Every performance we give began as protection. The psychology of pretense is the story of a wounded heart, a heart that learned to survive by appearing perfect. Eye service is not only deception toward others, it is self-deception born from fear. Fear of rejection, fear of being unseen, fear that who we truly are may not be enough. In the Garden of Eden, the first act of pretense began with a fig leaf. When Adam and Eve hid from God, they were not just covering their nakedness, they were covering their truth. In Genesis 3, 9-10, God asks, "Adam, where are you?" And Adam replies, "I heard your voice and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid." That was the first eye service in human history. Hiding from the Creator while pretending to be fine. The root of pretense is fear, and the cure is truth. Pretense grows in environments that punish authenticity. When we are only valued for performance, we learn to perform endlessly. The child who is only praised when perfect grows into the adult who cannot rest unless approved. Eye service, therefore, is a trauma response, a way of staying safe by looking acceptable. But deep within, the soul suffocates. The false self, the one built for applause, becomes a cage around the true self. Psychology calls this impression management, shaping our behavior to control how others perceive us. But the more we live to manage impressions, the less we live in truth. Eye service thrives where leaders value appearance over authenticity. In such environments, people act right but think wrong. They comply outwardly but resist inwardly. The result? Work without passion, obedience without ownership. A wise leader creates spaces where truth can breathe, where people can speak without fear of consequence. For as Proverbs 29:25 says, "The fear of man brings a snare, but whoever trusts in the Lord shall be safe." Leadership is not about watching people work. It's about helping them find meaning in what they do. When a leader walks in authenticity, the followers mirror that freedom. Pretense may protect you for a while, but it will also imprison you. There is no peace in performance, but there is peace in presence. When you begin to show up as yourself even when it's imperfect. Remember this truth. The people you try to impress may forget you, but the God you serve in truth never does. John 4:24 reminds us, God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and in truth. The soul that pretends cannot heal. Healing begins when honesty begins. It is not weakness to admit weariness. It is not failure to confess imperfection. Pretense keeps us admired, but truth keeps us free. To break the spirit of eye service, begin with the small act of sincerity. Do one thing today that no one will see, not for praise, not for validation, but for alignment. The psychology of pretense ends where honesty begins. You cannot heal while you're still acting. The heart was never created to perform. It was created to connect. So take off the mask. Let the soul breathe again. For the one who made you never asked for perfection, only truth. Every morning, life begins again. The sun rises and with it, responsibility. We step into offices, markets, classrooms, and workshops, thinking we are going to work. But beyond every workplace lies another, a hidden realm called the workplace of the soul. It is here that every action, no matter how small, becomes an offering. Work is not punishment. Work is participation in creation. When God formed man from dust, he placed him in the garden, not to sit, but to serve. In Genesis 2:15 it says, "The Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and take care of it." True work, therefore, is divine partnership. But when the heart forgets why it works, the sacred becomes mechanical. Eye service turns holy labor into hollow labor. The hands may move, but the heart stands still. Leadership is stewardship, not surveillance. When a leader rules through fear, the spirit of eye service is born. People begin to perform only under the watchful gaze, and truth hides beneath pretense. A wise leader sees not just with the eyes, but with discernment, noticing effort, not just outcome, sincerity, not just speed. As Colossians 3:23 reminds us, "Whatever you do, do it heartily, as to the Lord and not unto men." A leader who serves from the heart awakens others to do the same. The workplace of the soul operates on purpose, not pressure. When our work is driven by purpose, time flows. We lose ourselves in meaning. But when driven by pressure or supervision, anxiety replaces inspiration. Eye service is born in workplaces where value is tied only to visibility. But in truth, invisible work often carries the most power. The unseen efforts, the quiet corrections, the small details, these are what sustain excellence. The mind may crave recognition, but the soul craves fulfillment. To turn work into worship, one must move from eye service to heart service. Work not because eyes are watching, but because purpose is calling. When we begin to see our work as sacred, excellence becomes effortless. The psalmist said in Psalm 127, verse 1, "Except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it." When the heart aligns with heaven, even the smallest act becomes divine construction. A true workplace, whether in an office or a farm, is a school of character. It teaches patience, humility, service, and consistency. The one who serves with sincerity is never truly unseen. For every unseen act of integrity builds unseen foundations of destiny. Leadership is not found in titles. It is found in how faithfully you handle your task when no one claps. There is no small work in the eyes of God. The janitor who cleans with devotion and the leader who governs with humility both serve from the same altar. The altar of sincerity. Every task is an offering, every effort a seed. Eye service seeks reward from men. Heart service plants reward in heaven. In the workplace of the soul, no effort is wasted. Serve as though heaven itself were your audience. For even when eyes turn away, God remembers. The world rewards visibility, but the divine rewards faithfulness. So rise each day with purpose, work with grace, and rest, knowing your labor is not in vain. There comes a moment when service transcends sight, when every act, no matter how small, becomes an offering. To love quietly, to work diligently, to create with intention, to serve with humility. That is worship. The opposite of eye service is soul service. Actions born from love, not applause. In Colossians 3:23, it is written, "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for men." Every sincere act becomes sacred when done from the heart. So let your light shine not for display, but for direction. Let your service be silent, but strong enough to move souls. Because when you stop living for eyes that see you and start living for the eye that knows you, you transcend performance and enter purpose. If this message touched your heart, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Earthly Tone Thoughts, where every word is a seed of light for the soul. Serve with truth. Walk in light. Be unseen, but unforgettable.